Hey friends, welcome back to my kitchen. My name is Christine and we are officially out of tortillas. So I am going to whip up a batch of one of my favorite recipes. It's a 5-ingredient recipe for buttery tortillas. So I just thought I'd show you the quick steps. We're gonna make maybe between 10 and 12 of them so that we'll have some for stash and in the freezer. So come on with. Okay, this is a super simple recipe. I did some little bit of prep work. I've got my butter kind of melted. I've got my water already, hot to warm-ish. So I am actually just gonna start out with the dry ingredients. We are putting in 3 cups, and this is just organic, all-purpose, unbleached flour. And you don't have to be too specific with it. Okay, and here's the third one. I like to do my dry ingredients first. We'll save this flour for us when we do some kneading here. So next is, I actually make my own baking powder, which is like a 2-to-1 ratio. So it is 2 tablespoons of cream of tartar and 1 tablespoon of baking soda, and that makes your baking powder. So we're adding 1 tablespoon of baking powder, and I'm just kind of scraping it on the sides here. Flop that in. And a lot of this stuff you can just, make, just like you can make your own brown sugar, etc. All right, so I am pulling out I have a teaspoon in here already, but my Celtic sea salt. It's one of the best salts that you can purchase. There kind of was a craze on that I don't know, probably about 6 months ago where you couldn't even find this. We have a source at one of our local grocery stores, so we were actually really happy to grab some. A little bit while you're waiting for your coffee in the morning. It's got so many minerals, etc. in it. Then I'm going to kind of make a little bit of a pocket here for the wet. Just kind of makes my life a little bit easier. Putting in the butter, and it's a 1/2 cup of butter, so 1 full stick, I think it's an 8-ounce stick, unless you buy the smaller sticks. And you can normally see that right on the package. Yeah, so this is what I used. And it shows you how many tablespoons. So 8 tablespoons is a 1/2 cup. And then we've got our basically warm water. I just gave it a zap for like 30 seconds, and you want to add the water when it still is warm. So I'm just going right in with it. And I'm pulling out my Danish dough whisk. I don't know if you've ever seen these, but they're amazing. I've used them in several of my videos because nothing really sticks to them. So we're just making this a dough consistency. That's really it for the buttery version of these tortillas. And then what we're going to do is going to knead it with my hands for roughly 5 minutes. Pulling this off. I mean, this is a stickier dough, but look, it just literally like falls right off. So I'm gonna get my board prepared and do some kneading, and then you let it rest for, I don't know, like 30 minutes, 1/2 hour or so. And then you come back and make the size of balls that you want. This is roughly, like I said, between 10 and 12 tortillas, and not the super giant ones, kind of more like sandwich, size. And we'll get the dough out. I'm gonna go wet my hands down. That's kind of a little trick. When you pull out dough, then it doesn't quite stick quite as bad. Okay, here we go. Just making sure I get all of the stuff out. And you're just gonna knead it however that you do. I'm not professional by any means, but just as long as you get the job done. Okay, here we go. I'm just gonna put it right back into the bowl. Make sure there's enough flour in the bottom so it doesn't stick. And I'm just going to let it rest for about 30 minutes and we'll get the pan heated up here. Okay, the timer just went off. So I'm getting this out onto my floured area here. And we're just gonna knead it a little bit. And then we're actually going to use my little bench knife, and we're gonna get these cut up into balls. And then these little balls are going to rest for about 10 minutes. And then we're gonna roll each one out and get them in the pan. So right now is when you want to start warming up your pan. So I'm just kind of kneading this into something a little bit neat. And then I want to cut these up. All right, so let's go across. And then you just kind of roll them. Might need a little bit of water. So let me grab just a little bit of water so that they stay together a little bit better. I'm just gonna wet my fingers a little bit. So I'm just gonna roll them. There we go. Put them back into the bowl. Let's get a little bit of water on it. Okay, right now I have my large cast iron. Getting the heat on like medium to low, just so that the pan warms up. And I'm putting some oil on it. I'm gonna give it a quick brush over so that it kind of spreads out. This pan is seasoned already. And then you'll just have to kind of estimate if you do need to add oil again. So these are buttery tortillas, so there's extra butter in them. So they don't stick as much as regular tortillas, which is kind of nice. I think that's why I like this recipe. And then over here I have my pan ready that I'm going to put the ones that are done in. Okay, a little bit of a change of plans. We decided, I talked to my husband, and he does want a little bit bigger of ones. So I kind of blended the balls together. So we're going to just get them rolled out the best that we can. This is a pretty bouncy dough. So you're just gonna do the best that you can to have it spread out. So I'm just getting my rolling pin full of flour. The pan is heated up. And you're just gonna do the best you can to get it as thin as you can. I love this recipe. And my husband, like I said, he put his claim in. He wants a little bit bigger ones because he wanted to make some breakfast burritos with them. All right, looking pretty good. I think that's about as big as I want, but I'll work on it. I'll try to get it. You know, I like to make them about as wide as a gallon size bag because that's how I store them in the freezer. All right, flip it over, do some rolling on this side. It's looking pretty good. All right, I think that's about as big as I want to make it. All right, let's move over to the cast iron. Okay, cast iron is ready, and I have my tortilla, and you just put it face down, timer on, 30 seconds, and that's when I flip it. So 30 seconds on each side until they start bubbling. I might turn the heat up a little bit. I had turned it down to low, but it's a nice hot oiled pan. Okay, that's the first 30 seconds. Flip it over. Oops. Trying to move it. There we go. Second side, 30 seconds. Flip it over. You're starting to see that little bit of browning on it. And I'm just going to do it for another 30. Let's check it. There we go. All right, that's our first one going in, and then we'll go back. I'm just going to spread the oil that's kind of on the edges back around, turn it down until we roll out the next. So you kind of get the gist of it. I'm just going to be repeating these steps over and over again and making about the same size. Like I said, my husband kind of wanted a little bit bigger ones. So I'm gonna get these rolled out. And then the first one, it usually does take a little bit longer in the pan. I did 30 seconds on each side, and then that first side, I went one more 30 seconds, and that seemed to do it. And it could be because the size is a little bit bigger than what I normally do. Okay, let's get over to the pan. Okay, we're back to, here's the second one. There we go. You can kind of start to see it bubble a little bit. There we go. It's kind of like pancakes. That second one usually turns out a little bit better. Here we go, 30 seconds. Looking good. And we're gonna add that to the pile. Same thing over. Turn it down till you're ready to come back. You kind of get the gist of it. I'm just gonna keep going, and then once I have them all made, I'll bring you back and then I'll go over how I store them. But it's just kind of one of those things. So now we'll have quite a few made up for sandwiches. I have a trip coming up. I'll probably take one of these as a wrap to eat instead of super expensive airport food, and so on. So we'll see you once I have these all finished. Okay, I already filmed the end of the video because I wanted to eat one while they were still warm. And how I store them is just, this is a freezer type bag, and then I have parchment paper. So I just start out with layering them back and forth. Like, I don't really rip anything until the end. And it just seems to work pretty well for me. And then you can reuse the parchment paper. This is my first batch that I've made this year, being out here. And there we go. And then one last one over the top. And then I just fold over the ends. And I have to fold this back over. Getting all the air out. And then I'm just gonna write on it and the date. There we go. We're all set to go into the freezer. Okay, I wanted to do the closing while these are still nice and warm. I finished up, and I just wanted to show you that, like, you know, some of them get those, ooh, this one's actually really hot. Some of them get the little holes on them. Yeah, these are pretty blazing. I might have to dig down and take one of the first ones. But I wanted to show you how nice they turn out. I'm actually going to sacrifice myself and just show you what it looks like inside. And that they're pliable, and you can roll them up and fold them up. And the buttery ones are my favorite. Butter is not bad for you in general if you do it in modesty. And then this is such a base recipe. You can start adding basil and this and that, and, you know, garlic, all kinds of different seasonings. I just tend to like these because these are very versatile for all different kinds of meals. You can have basically breakfast, lunch, and dinner with these. So let me give it a taste. And they're warm, and the extra butteriness, you won't believe. You won't regret it either. So I am going to get these bagged up, and I do like to separate them, as you saw, and get them in the freezer. I do put a date on them because I don't want them to get freezer burnt or anything. So after freezing them, you want to make sure and use them within a certain amount of time, couple of months, because you don't want them getting freezer burnt. So thanks for stopping by my little channel and utilizing one of my favorite recipes of all time. I just thought I'd show you. And if you like easy things to do, recipes you can use over and over again, hit that like and subscribe. And I'll see you next time on Christine's Routines. Take care and God bless. And I'm gonna finish up my few little bites here. And like I said, what a super simple recipe. All right, this isn't going how I planned. Let's take 2 steps back. So after freezing them, you want to